So, for video number 2, I'm introducing you to what has become a real passion for me, which is this instrument, the classical guitar. It is a guitar, a 6-stringed instrument that bears at least a visual resemblance to other types of guitar. It has nylon strings rather than steel, and it has a wider neck, generally speaking, than, say, a steel string guitar or an electric guitar, which often have much thinner necks. I have played other types of guitar in the past, not with particularly great skill, but I played for pleasure, and it was never really that much of an issue. I didn't really start studying guitar as an instrument very seriously until about 2 years ago. And on a whim, I bought an acoustic electric nylon string guitar. Little guitar, it's actually about half scale. And because I had it, I thought, well, I wonder if I could learn a classical piece. And I watched a few tutorials, and I learned my first classical piece, which is a piece I still play today. I play it every day as a warm-up, and I just fell in love. I had tried classical guitar very, very briefly, took a few lessons in it when I was a teenager, and at the time I just quit. I was like, oh my God, this is way too hard. I can't read music on the fretboard. This is way too hard. I want something that I can do much more easily. And so I moved on and played folk guitar, and just was perfectly happy to strum a few chords and sing. And that was wonderful for years, but it never led to me becoming a particularly skilled guitarist. And when I did collaborate with other people, I typically handed over the guitar portions of anything more than the most basic rhythm guitar. I handed over to musicians who were more technically skilled on the guitar than I am, or was. And so the classical guitar became a challenge that I wanted to take on, in part because it was something that I had previously deemed impossible. Now, it took a few hits and misses to find a guitar that really fit me. That first one that I bought is a wonderful little instrument. I play it for a lot of other things. However, it wasn't quite the right fit. It had a fairly thin neck, and I didn't find it was particularly well suited to me as a classical instrument. I tried a full-sized classical guitar with the hopes that I would be able to play it, mainly because the range of higher-end guitars is much, much larger in full-size instruments than it is in smaller instruments. But ultimately, I came to the same conclusion I came to many years ago with my first steel string guitar, which is that I am just not a full-sized human being. I am 4'11", and I have really tiny hands, and there is a limit to how far I can stretch. And when I am wanting to play more advanced classical pieces, the stretch is going to be a limitation if I can't reach it. So I ultimately decided on this instrument. This is an Anderson. It actually does have an electric pickup on it, and that's kind of an interesting feature in and of itself. I have not yet used the electric pickup. It was not designed as an acoustic electric instrument. This is an aftermarket pickup. I didn't put it on. It actually came that way. I bought this as a used instrument, and I had it set up professionally by Sweetwater Music, which is by far and away the best place to buy instruments. I have no affiliation with them, but my God, I love them, and their customer service is top notch. And so I have settled on this as my instrument for now. And one thing you will notice, if you know anything about guitar at all, is you might be used to seeing people play with their guitar like this, maybe on their lap, strumming, perfectly acceptable. And that is the way a lot of guitarists play. However, the classical is played at an angle. And that is something that it took quite a bit of adjusting for me to really start understanding how to even hold the instrument. I did find that I personally prefer to use what is known as a guitar lift, which is this gadget here. And when I pick my guitar up, it is ready to go, and it sits ergonomically on my lap where I need it at the angle that is most comfortable for me to play. Some people play with a stool under their left leg, perfectly acceptable. I personally found that uncomfortable if I played for very long. There are various types of guitar lifts. This is the one that I have settled on for this particular guitar, and this is the guitar that I plan to play for the next number of years as I learn. So the classical guitar in many ways is more like playing the piano than it is like playing some of the other instruments that I've played over the years, because you're playing multiple lines at once. It's a bit like having a piano right hand and left hand doing different things, and of course with the guitar your right hand and your left hand are doing different things. It's very, very exact. Where you put your fingers, how you put your fingers, how you hold your fingers, how long you hold each finger, how long each note lasts is something that is written in the music. Something that was very, very new to me when I approached this. Furthermore, I approached this without even knowing how to read guitar tablature. Tablature, for any of you who don't know what that is a form of essentially shorthand that most styles of guitar use. It tells you which finger to put on which fret when, in short. And it's been very, very helpful to me in learning the classical guitar, because although I comfortably read music, I don't always know where to place my fingers to get a particular note that can be maybe played on any number of strings in any number of positions. And it's been very helpful to me to learn how to read tablature, but I learned that from scratch. And I am thinking of the classical guitar really as a brand new instrument that I picked up for the first time about 2 years ago, and that I began from absolutely nothing, except I had a musical background, but I started this from scratch. And the reason that I'm choosing to work with this in my project for this semester is that I am a beginner, and part of what I want to do is allow myself to be a beginner and to work with the mistakes that I will inevitably make, and to work with my performance anxiety kind of as if I were going back to when I was a brand new musician as a child. Most people who grew up playing music have horror stories, if they were ever encouraged or forced to perform in recitals. I certainly have my own, where I had to walk out in the middle of a piano recital because my mind went completely blank. And that is part of what makes up the performance anxiety for a lot of people, is that there are past events combined with your present experience. So this is the classical guitar. It has become my refuge in a world that is chaotic and technologically overloading. This is a very acoustic experience for me. And part of the reason I've never even used the pickup is, well, for one thing, classical guitar is best recorded with an external mic, although it is not best recorded with an iPhone on a tripod, which is what you're getting today. This video is already going on too long, so what I'm going to do is simply tell you that if you are interested in learning more about the classical guitar as an instrument, there are many, many wonderful YouTube channels that you can go to. I will put the links to 2 of them in my post, and 2 musicians whom I have found to be wonderful, wonderful teachers, and you can learn much more about the history of the instrument and the techniques and everything else. So for the third piece of this 3-part installation, thank you for bearing with me. I am going to perform a piece that I am just in the process of memorizing. It's not a piece that I have become particularly comfortable even playing all the way through by memory. So part of the goal here is to perform it in a way that allows me to make mistakes. I should also, just in wrapping up here, I should note that I did a couple of things differently today than I normally would. Normally, if I come into the practice studio, I'm just wearing whatever I was wearing. I'm probably in some version of sweats unless I've had to be out in the world. My hair is however my hair is on that given day. Maybe it's piled on top of my head, maybe it's pulled back in a ponytail. Today I actually wore it down and styled it a little bit, put a tiny bit of makeup on, and I am wearing a shirt that is on the dressier side. This is something I might wear if I were actually needing to perform in front of an audience or wanting to perform in front of an audience. And I did this in part because those variables matter and they play into how performance anxiety manifests. And truthfully, it worked, because by the time I even got into the studio, before I even picked up my instrument, I already was feeling the physiological signs of the anxiety. So this is a variable that I am hoping to learn to coexist with comfortably. And that doesn't mean I'm going to get done up every time I practice, but what it does mean is that regular video sessions where I have taken that into account might be in order. That is your introduction to the classical guitar, and I will play you a piece in the next video.